सो हे गाइस, वेलकम बैक। अपने प्रीवियस वीडियो में हम लोग अपने सारे एंटिटी को बिल्ड कर चुके थे एंड इट्स टाइम टू बिल्ड आवर यूजर एंटिटी। सो इस वीडियो में हम लोग समझने वाले हैं स्प्रिंग सिक्योरिटी एंड जेडब्ल्यूटी के बारे में एंड देन वी मूव टू द यूजर एंटिटी एंड फॉर द कॉन्फ़िगरेशन ऑफ जेडब्ल्यूटी एंड स्प्रिंग सिक्योरिटी। सो सबसे पहले लोग अपन स्प्रिंग सिक्योरिटी के बारे में समझ लेते हैं। देयर आर टू मेन टर्म्स टू अंडरस्टैंड। अगर आप लोग ऑथेंटिकेशन एंड ऑथराइजेशन के बारे में समझ जाते हैं देन इट्स बिकम टू इजी टू अंडरस्टैंड द स्प्रिंग सिक्योरिटी एंड जेडब्ल्यूटी। सो ऑथेंटिकेशन की बात करें तो अपन ऑथेंटिकेशन एक ऐसा प्रोसेस है जहां पे हम लोग यूजर के आइडेंटिटी को वेरीफाई करते हैं। अगर बात करें तो ऑथेंटिकेशन की, अगर कोई यूजर आपके वेबसाइट पे आता है तो आपका सबसे पहला काम होगा उसको ऑथेंटिकेट करना, ही इज अ वैलिड यूजर और नॉट। अगर वो एक वैलिड यूजर है देन ही कैन एक्सेस द रिसोर्सेज एंड अगर वो वैलिड यूजर नहीं है तो उसका सबसे पहला काम होगा कि वो आपके वेबसाइट पे रजिस्टर करे, then he will be able to log in. Let's talk about the authorization. Authorization means granting the access, like what resources he can access. Okay? अगर कोई यूजर आपके रिसोर्सेज को एक्सेस करना चाहता है देन वी सेट इट व्हाट ही कैन एक्सेस अकॉर्डिंग टू हिज रूल। उसका रूल अगर यूजर है तो ही कैन एक्सेस द यूजर रिलेटेड रिसोर्सेज एंड अगर उसका रोल एडमिन है तो वो एडमिन रिलेटेड रिसोर्सेज को एक्सेस कर सकता है। दिस इज ऑथराइजेशन। सो ऑथेंटिकेशन एंड ऑथराइजेशन प्ले क्रूशियल रोल इन स्प्रिंग सिक्योर securing your application. So I think you got authentication and authorization. Authorization means to authorize what resources he can access and authentication means to authenticate or verify, verify his identity, he is a valid user or not. So these the two main terms in Spring Security. Okay, so let's talk about the Spring Security. अगर कोई यूजर आपके वेबसाइट पे आता है तो सबसे पहला काम होगा कि when he send a request there are lots of security filter chains there. Security related filters बहुत सारे लगे हुए होते हैं एंड आपका रिक्वेस्ट बहुत सारे सिक्योरिटी फिल्टर से पास होता है and then we going to build a security filters and add it JWT security filters and edit in the security filters. Okay, so बहुत सारे security filters में से पास होता है and then it move to authentication manager. It is a interface. Look guys, Spring Security बना बनाया है, so what we have to do, we have to only configure it and Spring Security में हम लोग को configuration करना रहता है and then we can use it. Okay, when the request passes from the filters it goes to authentication manager एंड ऑथेंटिकेशन मैनेजर के पास एक मेथड होता है दैट इज ऑथेंटिकेट मेथड एंड ये एक इंटरफेस है तो उसका इम्प्लीमेंटेशन नहीं होता। सो ऑथेंटिकेशन मैनेजर सेंड दैट रिक्वेस्ट टू ऑथेंटिकेशन प्रोवाइडर एंड ऑथेंटिकेशन प्रोवाइडर यूज करता है यूजर डिटेल्स सर्विस को एंड पासवर्ड इनकोडर एंड ये एक यूजर डिटेल सर्विस और एक इंटरफेस होता है एंड इट टॉक विद द डाटाबेस एंड पासवर्ड इनकोडर एक क्लास है पासवर्ड को इनकोड एंड डिकोड करने के लिए हेल्प करता है। यूजर डिटेल सर्विस सारे डाटा को फेच करता है फ्रॉम द यूजर एंड देन विद द हेल्प ऑफ ऑथेंटिकेट मेथड इट ऑथेंटिकेट दिस इज अ वैलिड यूजर और नॉट एंड देन आफ्टर ऑथेंटिकेशन इट मेक द ऑब्जेक्ट ये ऑथेंटिकेशन का ऑब्जेक्ट बनाते हैं एंड देन सेंड बैक ऑथेंटिकेशन प्रोवाइडर को सेंड कर देते हैं एंड देन ऑथेंटिकेशन मैनेजर को सेंड कर देते हैं एंड देन अकॉर्डिंग टू देयर रोल सिक्योरिटी कॉन्टेक्स्ट सेट हो जाता है। लेट्स टॉक इन डिटेल। ओके गाइज, सो someone send the request and then request goes, there are lots of security filter chains, बहुत सारे security filter chains से होके जाता है एंड देन ऑथेंटिकेशन ऑब्जेक्ट क्रिएट होता है एंड देन ऑथेंटिकेशन ऑब्जेक्ट क्रिएट होने के बाद ऑथेंटिकेशन मैनेजर को रिक्वेस्ट सेंड कर दिया जाता है एंड ऑथेंटिकेशन मैनेजर एक कहें तो इंटरफेस होता है एंड उसके पास एक ऑथेंटिकेट मेथड होता है। वो ना ही ऑथेंटिकेट मेथड इम्प्लीमेंट नॉट इम्प्लीमेंटेड होता है। इंटरफेस के पास ये परमिशन नहीं होता है कि अगर आप जावा के बेसिक्स को जानते हैं तो आप जानते होंगे कि इंटरफेस के पास मेथड के बॉडी को डिफाइन करने की कैपेबिलिटीज नहीं होती है। सो इंटरफेस ऑथेंटिकेशन मैनेजर एक इंटरफेस है, सो इट हैव अ ऑथेंटिकेट मेथड एंड दैट हैव नो बॉडी। ओके, सो इट सेंड द रिक्वेस्ट ऑथेंटिकेशन ऑब्जेक्ट टू ऑथेंटिकेशन प्रोवाइडर एंड ऑथेंटिकेशन प्रोवाइडर कहे तो ये भी एक इंटरफेस होता है एंड ये यूज करता है, लेट मी शो यू गाइस, इट यूज द लाइक सो ऑथेंटिकेशन मैनेजर एक इंटरफेस होता है एंड ये यूज करता है एक प्रोवाइडर मैनेजर के क्लास को, एंड ये क्लास यूज करता है यूजर डिटेल सर्विस एंड पासवर्ड इनकोडर को। ओके, एंड इसके हेल्प से ये डाटाबेस लाइक यूजर डिटेल सर्विस डाटाबेस से डाटा को फेच करता है, एंड अगर डाटाबेस हैक हो जाता है देन ही कांट एक्सेस आवर पासवर्ड इजिली। ओके, हम लोग अपने डाटाबेस में पासवर्ड को इनकोड करके रखते हैं। सो वी आर गोइंग टू हेयर यूज द पासवर्ड इनकोडर टू डिकोड इट, एंड विद द हेल्प ऑफ ऑथेंटिकेट मेथड हम लोग सारे यूजर को ऑथेंटिकेट करते हैं, एंड देन आफ्टर ऑथेंटिकेटिंग वी सेंड द रिक्वेस्ट टू प्रोवाइडर मैनेजर एंड मेकिंग द ऑब्जेक्ट ऑफ मेकिंग द ऑब्जेक्ट ऑफ ऑथेंटिकेशन, एंड ऑथेंटिकेशन ऑब्जेक्ट बना के हम लोग प्रोवाइडर मैनेजर को दे देते हैं। ओके, एंड देन प्रोवाइडर मैनेजर send back to authentication manager and back to like, let me show you guys, and back to like authentication manager and back to Spring Security filters and goes to security context. And what is security context? Like security context is just like a box where we set the user's identity, like what is his role and whatever, and what resources he can access. Okay, so I think you got all the points about the Spring Security. So let's talk about the JWT guys. JWT guys Spring Security का पार्ट नहीं है, वो एक अलग ही पार्ट है। So we are going to understand. Like every time अगर यूजर आपके वेबसाइट पे विजिट करता है and we don't go to show the login page, like अगर ये resources एक्सेस करना है तो आपको लॉगिन करना पड़ेगा, and if you want to access other resources then you have to login. Like every time we don't go to the login page. Okay, so here JWT comes into picture. Every time we don't go to show the login page, so JWT come into picture. Like हम लोग एक बार अपने यूजर को लॉगिन कराएंगे and then we are going to give a JWT token, and with the help of token अगर कोई भी resources like restricted resources को यूजर एक्सेस करना चाहता है तो he have a token and he have to send it. Like मैं बताऊंगा कि कैसे आप एवरी टाइम JWT को लाइक चेक करेंगे। अगर यूजर को ये रिसोर्सेज एक्सेस करना है तो ही हैव टू फर्स्ट सेंड द टोकन, एंड विद द हेल्प ऑफ टोकन we are going to authenticate it, like he is a valid user or not. With the help of JWT token we are going to authenticate it. So every time we don't go to say hey you have to log in first. Okay, so with the help of like we are going to say hey you want to log in, so log in first. So at the every time we don't want to say hey log in first. Okay, so we are just going to take give him the token. Okay, like with the help of token we are going to authenticate it and authorize it and set the security context. Okay, so I think आपको JWT का concept भी क्लियर होगा. So guys let's talk about the JWT. Okay, so guys आपके वेबसाइट पे कोई भी अगर यूजर आता है then every time you don't go to say hey अगर आपको कोई भी resources एक्सेस करना है तो you have to log in first like not. ओके, सो हम लोग इस चीज को सॉल्व करने के लिए JWT यूज करते हैं. लाइक इन दिस टाइम JWT कम इनटू पिक्चर. सो JWT का काम यही होता है कि लाइक once a user register or log in we provide a token and this is a JWT token. So in the JWT token we put some user details, like when we build the JWT token we insert some user details like his username and password. Okay, and with the help of JWT token हम लोग पता करते हैं like that is a valid user or not. इन द JWT सर्विस हम लोग JWT को बनाते हैं एंड देन देखते हैं एंड उसके यूजर डिटेल्स को इंसर्ट करते हैं एंड देखते हैं कि कोई भी अगर यूजर अगर JWT को सेंड करता है तो कैसे वेरीफाई करेंगे. लाइक सो we are going to see in the JWT service. So I think you got the JWT point. Okay, so let's move on the coding part. Like we are going to first insert the dependency of Spring Security and JWT. So अगर Spring Security की dependency like you can head over to the Maven website or let me move to the Spring initializer. Okay, so what I will do first, I will first Spring Security. Okay, so I'm going to here explore and like here is this is the dependency of Spring Security. Like you can also search on the Maven website. So I'm here to copy it here and in the pom.xml I will paste it. here I'm going to paste it, and then let's talk about the JWT. So guys, आपको क्या करना है? Let me show you guys. You can search on the Maven website, and here I am going to take it the JWT dependency from the JWT from the GitHub. Okay, so I'm going to here show you guys how you can take it the JWT dependency from the GitHub. So what you have to do, you have to like here in the installation part, like you have go to the Maven and you will find that the JWT dependency. Okay, so I will first copy it from here. So let me show you again, like what you have to do. You have to first like enter here the JWT GitHub. Okay, you will find a first repo. You have to click it here and move to the installation part. Okay, like here is the installation and here is the Maven. You have to click it on the Maven and you will find the dependency and you have to copy it. So I will copy it, and in the pom.xml I am going to paste it here. So I am going to sync the Maven changes. Okay, so हम लोग अपन अब यूजर एंटिटी को बिल्ड करने वाले हैं, एंड सबसे पहले हमारा काम होगा कि वी आर गोइंग टू इम्प्लीमेंट यूजर डिटेल्स. Okay, so why we are going to implement it here user details, let me tell you, and I am going to here implement all the unimplemented method. Okay, so why we are going to use here the user details, let me tell you guys. Like Spring Security पहले ही सही बनाया है, we have to configure it, and then Spring Security को कैसे मालूम चलेगा, we are going to here use the user class as a user. Like user details is a interface. Okay, so with the help of user details, Spring Security know like which class are going to be our user class. Okay, so user details like user details interface help करेगा बताने को Spring Security को बताने में like which class is our user class. So we are going to use the user detail service, and it have some important unimplemented method, like you can use it. So I am going to use all the method. Okay, so you can use only 3, and if you want to use all the method you can use it. So it is important to use the user detail. Like अगर आप user में implement नहीं करोगे user details, then you have to like make another class, and you have to create the object of user details, and then you have to make every time like you have to build the object of user every time. So I'm not going to use that messy code. Okay, so this is a easy way to implement it and use it. Okay, so let's move on the next part. So I'm here going to use the entity annotation. Okay, and use the all R constructor, no R constructor, and here use the data annotation. Data annotation help करता है getter setter को provide करने के लिए. Okay, so let's define the fields now. So private long id. Okay, you have to first create an id field. Okay, so here I'm going to annotate with the id annotation, and all the id are like auto generated. Okay, so here I'm going to define the strategy and generation type dot identity. Fine. So guys, here I'm going to define some other fields. So let me define some other fields, like here I'm going to use the private string email. Fine. Private string password, and like private string role. Like every user have a role, like उसका role user हो सकता है, like admin हो सकता है, and whatever you want to put. Okay, like here I am going to define the username, private string username. Fine. And these are going to be nullable false. I am put it here at the rate column. First of all, I am going to here put it nullable false and unique true. Like these fields are not going to be any nullable value, and this is a unique. Okay, like in the database, this is our username will be unique and nullable false. Like this can't be null. Okay, let me define here. Like here we have to override some method. Okay, so we have to like a list of collections. Okay, let me tell you guys, like we have the set here the role and pass the list of roles. Okay, so like एक user का multiple role हो सकता है. He can be user, he can be admin and whatever, he have a multiple role, so we have to pass it here. So we will first create a list, like we will create a object of list, and we have to pass the granted authority. Okay, like you can see here, we have to pass the granted authority type. Okay, so first of all okay, so we have to pass the granted authority, and I am here name it authorities equal to, and we are going to make the object of array list. Okay, fine. So I have to add the role. Okay, so authorities that add, like add is a method in the Java collection, and here we have to create the object of simple granted authority. Okay, and we have to pass the role. Okay, like our role. Okay, and I have to concatenate with role. Fine. And what we have to do, we have to only return the authorities. So return authority. Fine. Like let me clear it first. Like we have to return the granted authority, and granted authority let me clear first, guys. So here I have to return the granted authority, and granted authority we have to, let me clear it first, guys. Here we have to return the granted authority. Okay, so like granted authority, like here we create the list. Okay, and add our roles, like a user have a multiple roles, and create the object of simple granted authority. Okay, like simple granted authority is a class, and it implements the granted authority. So we have to, like we have to create the object of simple granted authority and put our roles and then return it. Okay, I think you got all the point. Here we have to mention the password. So here I am going to return the password. Okay, here I am going to return our username. So in the username I am going to return our email. Okay, here we have to tell him like क्या हमारा account expired हो चुका है. So here I am going to like क्या हम is account non expired, क्या हमारा account expired नहीं हुआ है. So here I am going to return the true, like हाँ हमारा account expired नहीं हुआ. Okay, like if you want to put some restrictions, like he have to first authenticate with email, and then you will set like unlocked or logged, like whatever you want to put it, you can put it here. Okay, so you can make your logic and put it. Okay, so here I'm going to return the true also. Okay, like our user when perform some login or register operation, his account is active, not locked. Okay, so here I have to return. Okay, like our is credential non-expired, like true. Okay, non-expired. So I'm here going to return the true also. True, like is enabled. Yeah, it is enabled. So I have here to make a method for our username. Like for the get username I'm going to pass email, and for the custom username I'm here going to make a method that is a custom method. Okay, so you can make it or whatever you want, you can leave it. Okay, so when someone comment it, I'm going to show a username, and this is auto generated. Okay, and I'm here going to put a method, and this is a custom method. Let me comment it. This is a custom method for username. Okay, so first of all I'm going to this is a string return type, and I'm here put it the public string, and its name to be like get displayed user. Okay, get displayed user name. Fine. And what he like its task is to return like username. Okay, fine. So I think you got all the points. Okay, so we are going to create like I think everything's are done here. Okay, so our next task is to create the repository. Okay, so first of all I'm going to make a package and name it repo. Okay, and enter it. So in the repo package I'm going to define all the repositories. Okay, category, comment, district, language, like, news, state, user, all the repo. Okay, so what I will do first, I will create a user repo, and this is going to be interface, and here I'm going to change the JPA, and JPA is also an interface, and here we have to pass the type, like this are going to be user, and here we have to, let me zoom it first, and here we have to pass the ID type. Okay, like a user have a ID, and what is the type of ID? So this is our long ID type. Okay, fine. And we have to create all the repo interface. So I'm going to create, like you can also fast forward it if you know and familiar with the Spring Boot basics. So this is our interface, and I will name it here category repo. Implements it with the JPA, like extends JPA repository, and I have to provide the type like category, and we have to mention the ID type long. Fine. And I am going to annotate with the repository, like I forgot here to annotate with the repository annotation. Like you know, annotation are too much important and too much powerful in the Spring Boot. So I will create all the repositories. Okay, like here comment repo, and extend JPA repository, mentioned comment, and here the district repository, and here I'm going to integrate with the repository and extends like district, I think district, and here we have to put it the type district and also the ID type long. Okay, I'm getting the error. Why? Oh, here I have to pass with the JPA repository. Sorry for guys, JPA repository. Okay. So I will create a repo for the language also, language repo, and this is the interface, and it will extends JPA repository, and we have the type, like this are going to be language. Okay, and ID long, and this are going to be repository. So and like news state, like repo, and we are going to extend with the JPA repository. Like JPA help us to make the table in our database. Okay, so it help us to provide the query to perform the operation in the database. So we have to pass the like what is our going to be entity, and here pass the ID type. Okay, fine. And we have to annotate with the repository. Fine. And like news and state, news repo. Okay, extend JPA repository, and this is going to be news entity and ID type long, and this is our going to be repository interface. And we are going to create a state repository also, like state repo, and this is also going to be our interface. And I will first annotate with the repository, and here I am going to extend with the JPA repository, and mention the type, like this is are going to be state, and also give the type ID type. Okay, fine. I think I made all the repository. Here I forgot to annotate with the repository annotation. Fine. So I think I create all the repository. Okay, so first of all, like I think I forgot one thing, like here I'm going to define the table name. Okay, so I am annotate with the like table and define the name, like these are going to be our user. Like I think user is a reserved keyword in the database, so if we run our project then we got some error. So it's time to run our project. So I'm first go in the news app application, and here I'm going to run it. Okay, and see what error we are getting. Like I'm going to enable. Okay, we got some error. Let me check it first. Entity defined in the path framework, then collection news app entity news comments is mapped by property name, which does not exist. News, I think I made a mistake in the comments part. Let me check it out. Like in the comments part, I move to the comments part. Here I am not defined any news. fine. Like it mapped with the, like there is news. Okay, so okay, I think I made a mistake here. Let me resolve it. So let me move to the comment part, and I think I made a mistake here. Like I think I leave one field. So here I leave one field. Like here I have to define a field private. Let me zoom it first. Private, like these are going to be news, so I leave one field, I'm going to define it here, and news. Okay, fine. So these are going to be our many to one relation, like many comments belong to one news articles. Okay, so here I'm going to use the JSON ignore, like, so these are going to be a two-way mapping. So I'm going to rerun our project and see what error we are getting now. So I think we are getting some error now. Let me check it. Error DDL after this. Let me check it, guys, what error we are getting. So here created a table like ID default and identity news ID like, move to the like, and here what we are getting, like what is the create table like ID, like here I am going to mention create table like ID be generated by default as an primary key. Okay, I made a mistake here. I'm not going to use the identity. Okay, I'm going to use the ID type auto. Okay, like every ID is generated automatically, and I'm not going to use here the identity. Okay, so I'm going to rerun our project. Like, let me rerun it. Okay, I think I'm getting again any error. I'm going to first, like, let me move to the PG admin. So I'm going to first drop our database. So let me enter my password. Okay, I'm going to drop my blog data. Okay, like I think our news is a blog data, and I am here going to drop it. Okay, like I am here going to delete force blog data, and I am here going to recreate it. Okay, create database, and here I am going to use the blog data. Okay, our database name is blog data. I think I'm going to save it here. Okay, and let me check it first in the, like, when I move in the application dot properties, and I see this is a blog data. Okay, fine. So I'm going to rerun our project. So I'm getting some error because must be updated before the running the application on the production. Okay, fine. Like I'm getting a new error, foreign key user ID, and here I have defined the user ID. Okay, I think what I made a mistake in the user part. So guys, I think I'm getting error because of the naming convention. Okay, so we have to change here the name. Okay, so like is a reserved keyword in the database, so we have to rename it. So I am here going to use the table and name it likes. Okay, so I am going to rerun our application. So guys, like our application are going like successfully run without any issue. So I think I'm not getting any error, and our application has successfully run on our system. So I think you enjoyed this video. So in the next part, we are going to configure our security and JWT and build our JWT part. Okay, so I think everything's are done now. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, then hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. So thanks for watching this video, guys.